Have you ever been stuck in a dispute that just feels like a brick wall? You know, a disagreement where it seems like your only options are to either give in or gear up for a long, expensive fight. Well, what if I told you there's another way? Today, we're going to dive into mediation, a really powerful tool for finding common ground and sorting out conflicts, all without the courtroom drama. So let's break down what that really means.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about why disputes are so tough to begin with, the dispute dilemma. Then we'll get into what mediation actually is, how it works, and we'll weigh the pros and cons. And finally, we'll look at the different flavors of mediation. By the end of this, you'll have a super clear picture of the whole process.
All right, first up, let's talk about a situation that, let's be honest, many of us know all too well: being stuck in a fight. It doesn't matter if it's a business thing or something personal, conflict isn't just an inconvenience, it can be incredibly draining on your wallet and on your soul.
I mean, have you ever been in a disagreement that felt just impossible to solve, where the emotional stakes felt just as high, if not higher, than the financial ones? If you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. It's an incredibly common and really difficult thing to go through.
You know, the traditional route, like heading to court, usually comes with a pretty heavy price tag. We're talking massive legal bills, a process that can drag on for months, sometimes years, and just a huge amount of stress. But you know what the biggest pain point might be? It's the loss of control. You have to hand your problem over to lawyers and judges, and at the end of the day, the final decision, it's completely out of your hands.
And this is exactly where mediation steps in. It's a powerful alternative that's literally designed to tackle those pain points we just talked about and offer a much more constructive way to get things sorted.
So what is it? Well, at its heart, mediation is a process where a neutral third party, that's the mediator, helps everyone involved talk to each other and work towards their own agreement. It's actually the most common type of what's called alternative dispute resolution, or ADR.
And this really gets to the core of what a mediator does. A mediator isn't a judge, okay? They have zero power to force a decision on you. Think of them more like a respected, impartial guide. Their only goal is to help you find a solution that actually works for everyone. They're there to help you build a bridge, not to pick a winner and a loser. Okay, so that's the what, but how does it all actually work? Let's pull back the curtain and see what the process really looks like.
A good mediator first gets everyone on the same page about the basic facts. They help cut through all the noise to find the real issues and, this is so important, to find any common ground. They're like a communication coach, helping everyone explore the strong and weak points of their case and brainstorming creative solutions that a court would probably never even consider. This usually happens in a mix of joint sessions with everyone together and private meetings with each side.
Now look, like any process, mediation has its strengths and its limitations. So for this next part, let's get a really balanced picture so you can figure out if it's the right fit for your situation.
The upsides? They're pretty compelling. Mediation is way faster and more flexible than going to court. It's also completely confidential. What's said in mediation stays in mediation. This is huge for preserving relationships, right? Imagine two business partners fighting. A public court battle could literally destroy their company, but mediation gives them a private way to solve the problem and keep the business running. And it's all built on consensus, not on conflict.
And this quote right here, it says it all. This is the single most important benefit. Let that sink in. You have the ultimate control. Unlike a courtroom where a judge's decision is final, here nobody can force you to agree to anything. The power to say yes or no, that rests entirely with you.
And this isn't just a nice idea. It really works. The data shows that in some places, the success rate for mediation is as high as 75 to 80%. I mean, think about that. That's a huge number of disputes that get resolved without ever stepping foot in a courtroom. But we have to be realistic, right? The biggest downside is there's no guaranteed result. You could go through the whole process and still not reach an agreement. There's also a small risk that documents you share could be used later in court, and you always have to be aware of any potential conflicts of interest with the mediator. All right, now for a little bit of nuance. Just like there are different kinds of fights, there are also different ways to approach mediation. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. So let's look at the two main styles. On one hand, you've got facilitative mediation. Here, the mediator is a pure guide. They ask a lot of questions, they structure the conversation, but they never ever give their own opinions. The whole goal is to help you find your own solution. Now, on the other hand, you have evaluative mediation. This is where the mediator is a bit more hands-on. They might point out the strengths and weaknesses of each side, maybe even predict what a judge would do, and they might propose some specific settlement terms.
So, if there's one thing, just one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. Mediation is all about empowerment. It takes the power out of the hands of the legal system and puts it right back where it belongs, in yours. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. When things get tough, what really makes more sense? Letting a stranger impose a final decision on you, or having the power to build the solution yourself? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.